Hi guys, it's Nancy, and I have some of the products from the new release from Catherine Puller Designs for June of 2022. I cannot believe it is June already, you guys. So we have some new goodies here, and I'm excited to use them. First of all, the Apothecary line of inks is complete. So if you didn't catch my video, I have the video swatching out all of the new colors, which are whipped honey, matcha, lilac, and crushed violet. And you can see these are all 8 colors of the Apothecary collection, so you'll want to check that out. But we have some new stamps and dies. So this one is called More Peking Pets. So if you have the original Peking Pets, this is going to complement that. If you didn't get the Peking Pets, now is your chance. And these guys are so adorable. So we have, I think that's a Corgi, a Siamese cat. I'm not great with animals, so you guys have to help me out here. Cocker Spaniel, German Shepherd, and then I guess you have a mixture, you know, of what's this one called? A Frenchie. And then we have a little paw, a ball of yarn, a snack, milk bone, and a little mouse. So this is great. And of course, the dies. So a lot of fun things we're going to be making with these guys. And again, they're called More Peking Pets and More Peking Pets matching dies. This one coordinates with that one even better. This is called Look Who's Talking. So you have sentiments. These are great for any time, but they really go well with the animals. What you doing? Meow's it going? Happy birthday. You've cat to be kitten me. I woof you. Where's the potty? And I've missed you. And then you have the little thought bubbles. And of course you can get the dies to match the thought bubbles. So that's great. And then you have a new cover plate design. And this is called Parks and Rec cover plate. So you can use this as a cover plate, especially with the new inks. I'll make some fun backgrounds with that. Or you can just use this for sentiment strips. You know, a lot of times I'm looking to stamp out my sentiments and cut them out. Well, what if I cut out a whole bunch of these and just have them ready for sentiments? So that's a great idea. In fact, let's start with that one today. And we'll play with the new inks. So these are A2 size, so this is a 5.5 by 4 1/4 piece of cardstock. Yes. So you can see that that fits in there perfectly. I'm just going to bring in my Gemini Junior, but there's stuff all over it. So we'll use the manual die cutting system. But it'll work in any die cutting system. I'm going to use the Spellbinders Platinum 6. And how this works is you have your base platform, you have your cutting plate, and we're just going to cut this out and see what it looks like. Now, I'm not going to put a little tape on here. I'm actually going to cut this. Normally, I put my cutting plates down. From what I've been told, you should be cutting up. And this is how they do it in Europe. And this will help you have less warping in your plates. Plus now I can see how everything is lined up. And if anything moves, I'm just going to crank that through. That is normal. You're hearing the dies cut through the plastic. And now we have these beautiful inlay pieces. But we also have a frame. So we can use this frame and we can use these pieces. And if I wanted to put them back together, and this is where using the inks comes in and is fun. So I'm just going to visually lay these out. And I'm just going to go direct to paper with the new ink and color them. You can certainly just leave these the way they are, use them for sentiments, as I mentioned before, and just use this as a cool background, or you can color them. And since we have some new ink colors, let's just get to coloring here. So I'm going to slide these over here. Then I'm going to start with terracotta, and I'm going to go direct to paper. So you don't have to have colored cardstock colored paper. You can make this your colored cardstock. And I'm just going to set that aside to dry. I am going to clean my desk here in between, so that way we don't get mixing of colors. I think this is my favorite, this ginger. It's so different. And you'll see that that will even itself out. Go down here with, or actually we're going to use apricot. And these dry very quickly. This is the new whipped honey. This makes me want to go get a spa facial treatment. We have wintergreen. We have matcha. We're going to have to duplicate one of these. So we have lilac. Crushed violet. Much darker purple. And let's add a neutral in there. Let's add a gray. Let's bring Twilight in. Okay, so we're going to give those just a second to set into place, and then what we're going to do is bring in another card front. Nope, I got ink on my frame. It's okay. We'll make the frame black. Okay, now this isn't archival ink, so it will stain your fingers a little bit, so you want to make sure that you get that cleaned up fairly quickly. I think this piece of cardstock is too short. Yeah, I need a 5.5. So let me cut a new piece of cardstock. So I'm going to cut it to 5.5 by 4.25. And we're just going to paper piece this back together. So I'm going to start with my frame. Use my Barely Arts glue with the fine tip. course, you could run this through your Xyron too. Does not have to be perfect. This would be great too if you just did tone on tone. Maybe pop the frame up on some foam adhesive and then die cut it. So you'd have a dimensional frame. Oh, I like it like that. That looks good too. All right, so I have a little bit of extra on the edges, which I can cut off. This reminds me of when I was younger. I was like 3 or 4 years old. We lived in Korea for a small bit, and we had paper screens, and my sister and I got in trouble all the time for poking holes in the paper screens, and this kind of reminds me of that. Little nostalgic there. All right, so now we're just going to glue our pieces back in. Very Art Deco background here. Very simple to do. Don't have to have any kind of color coordination. You could just do a monotone. Maybe you just do different colors of grays or blues or purples. Maybe you just leave it and do it all white. Maybe you bring in your rainbow colors. You do whatever's going to work for you. But this makes a really cool background, and to the receiver, they're going to think you cut out 9 different colors of paper, and really, you didn't. So now, let's make a simple card. We're going to let that dry, and then I'll cut off that extra edge there. Let's stamp out one of these sentiments with a thought bubble and make it really easy. So, look who's talking. So, how about what you doing? Something real simple there. And fits in either one. I think I like this longer one better, so we'll start with that one. So I'm going to stamp out my thought bubble in the light lilac. Now, these are new stamps, so if you haven't heard me tell you before, when you have new stamps, you can see how kind of blotchy that looks. So a couple ways you can fix that. Stamp it off a few times, clean it, and stamp it off. You can take an eraser to it, just a regular pencil eraser, and erase it. Or you can use a little bit of clear sticky ink like Versamark or Wow, the embossing ink. And I want to show you guys the difference here. When you condition your stamps or prep your stamps, how much better your images come out, especially when it comes to new stamps. makes it so much easier. So now we've got the Wow embossing clear ink on there. We're going to go back in with that. I'm not cleaning the stamp off. I'm going to leave it that way. It doesn't hurt anything. What this does is it helps to clean the stamp and fill in the porous areas of the stamp. So here it is untreated as a brand new stamp, and here it is treated. And you'll see, we're going to give it a minute here, what that's going to look like. It's going to smooth itself out and look a lot better. And the more you stamp with it, the better it's going to get. When you season your stamp, that's what it's called. It just makes your stamping so much better. I know a lot of people get frustrated and they feel like, oh, you know, I just can't stamp well. Well, when you have new stamps, these are the things that happen, and you just need to use them. That's what they're saying. I want to be used. I want to be loved. All right, so before I stamp the sentiment, let's cut these guys out. And you'll need little snips, or these two you can just bend back and forth, and then they will remove themselves. And you have a little bit of a point there. You can take some little snips. You can get these in the garden center, or you can get them in the hardware store. And then I get as close as I can get, and I go over to the trash can and cut down towards the trash can so I don't have those burrs popping up in my eye. There we go. So now they're cut off. Now look at the difference between the first time we stamped it, the second time we stamped it, and the third time we stamped it. See how much smoother it is each time? So if you get this, don't fret. It just means you just need to use your stamp them out a little more. Cut. Let's cut the other one out. So I like to do this when I get new products. Just sit down and have a play with them. You don't always have to have an idea of how you want something to look. Sometimes you can just sit down and play with the supplies, and ideas will come to you, especially if you're kind of stuck in a crafting rut and you just don't have an idea. Just sit down, ink your products up, ink your stamps up, die cut some things, and maybe an idea doesn't come to you today, but maybe you have these already inked up and you have them set aside, and the next time you sit down to make a card, you have these ready-made accessories that you can just start putting a card together. So I'm going to make a card base. This is an A2 size card, so I've cut my 8.5 by 11 paper in half. So this is a 5.5 sheet of paper scored at 4 1/4. So this is our standard A2 size. Now I want to cut down my background card panel. Look at how nice that is now. Very Art Deco. I like that. And I didn't have this planned. It just came together that way. Okay. And I'm just going to trim off a little bit of the edge of the white card that's coming through here. So I'm just going to be very careful and cut that off. And over here. Oops, a little too close on that one. Might have to. Okay, we're good. Didn't get that. And what I can do is take my midnight ink and just go around the edges. Clean that up a little bit. So where I have that frayed paper, and I want to be careful because I don't want to have that ink smear onto my stamped panel. So I'm just doing the edges. Okay. Give that a second to set. I have my card base, my panel, and now I just need my sentiments. I want you guys to see how much these have smoothed out now, how much better they look. I think we'll use this one. I'm going to use Crushed Violet. Let's grab our sentiment. What you doing? I used to say that to my kids all the time. What you doing? You know, when kids are quiet, they're up to no good. Same thing, new stamp. Let's grab our scrap piece of paper here and let's stamp this off a few times before we use it. So again, we have a little bit of blotchiness there. I want to just stamp that off a few times to condition that stamp to help us have a better stamped image. My dog came running over when I said, "What you doing?" It's so funny. All right, that looks pretty good. Got a couple fuzzies on my card there. Okay, we're good. I'm going to grab some foam tape. I have black ink all over my hands. Got to be careful with that. Oopsie. I kind of like it just like this with just the sentiment. You don't have to add anything else. So this, the Parks and Rec cover plate with the, whoops, pull these off of here again. Parks and Rec cover plate with the Look Who's Talking sentiments and the matching Thought Bubble dies and the new Apothecary inks. all brand new over at Catherine Pooler Designs. Go check that out. I think this came out really cute. Except for my little ink smudge there. I'll just put a gem or something on there. And I didn't really have to do a lot of thinking. This is very easy, very simple. It's a card that goes into my collection that if I need to pull something out really quick, I can send it to them. And let's just take this up a notch. If you wanted to, we can bring in the more peeking pets. I don't even need to do any coloring. I grab that Siamese cat. I'm going to ink that up with the Wow embossing powder. And I'm going to bring in my dark gray ink, Blackjack. Stamp that off a few times on the scrap paper here. Look at that. It's a little surprise when you open up the card. I love it. All right, guys, there you go. Go check out the new products over at Catherine Pooler Designs. If you have any questions, post them down below in the comments. I'll have everything linked for you in the description. Thanks for watching, and keep on stamping. Bye.